Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Rotoworld Football Show. I am Patrick Daugherty, joined today by Kyle Dvorchak, Lawrence Jackson, as we talk some of Week 10's most challenging rankings. We're going to talk Leonard Fournette, getting hard to rank. DeAndre Swift, I think we're leaving unranked, right, guys? That's what we talked about. Leave him outside the top 50. Michael Pittman, Josh Palmer, et cetera, et cetera. Also going to do some Monday Night Football fallout. In fact, we will begin with Monday Night Football, where it was primetime. It was Andy Dalton, and the red one is now 6-20 in prime time.
The red one.
The red one. That's what he likes to be called, actually. This has predictably led to increased calls for Jameis Winston's return under center, though this Dalton fiasco featured only one pick. Any chance the Saints order this code red on a short week, or no chance, Lawrence?
Dennis Allen already said Andy Dalton's still the starter, and he claimed it is, just another bad day at the office.
Strange. He's had a lot of those.
Especially in prime time, especially when everyone is watching him play football.
When you start and you're right, and those primetime games, when one bad primetime game could mean equals to 3 1/4 public opinion. So, but when you string together too many of those bad days at the office, well, then you got to start to think about something here. But Dennis Allen, man, sticking to his guy, he is determined to finish behind the Panthers and the Falcons in that NFC South, despite having that opportunistic and good defense.
Yeah, Lawrence, you basically hinted, you got to get creative if you want to finish behind the Panthers and Falcons. And sticking with Andy Dalton is definitely one way to do that. So, Kyle, since they're sticking with Andy Dalton, apparently for Week 10, he is playing maybe one of the single worst pass defenses in the entire NFL, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. Is TJ Watt coming back, though, this week?
I thought he was still a little bit out, but I could be wrong.
I think his window, he was activated. His 21-day window is now
it's counting down.
Yeah, it should be close.
So he's playing the Pittsburgh Steelers, Kyle, one of the worst pass defenses in the entire NFL. So here, as we slander Andy Dalton, are we potentially also still streaming Andy Dalton? No. All right.
I mean, I don't know. I guess it's fine to do it. The offense is functional, albeit at a very low level of functioning. He's got at least one good receiver. Maybe they get Jarvis back this week. Maybe they get Michael Thomas back sometime this century. Obviously,
he's actually out for the year, too.
No, I literally meant sometime this century. I'd love to see him in 2024, 25 even.
Would be nice. Michael Thomas, man, went from leading the universe in dog levels to just never playing football again.
Started out good, too.
It did. Michael Thomas has me blocked on Twitter, by the way.
You don't know why, right? You don't.
No, I actually do not know why. As far as I can tell, I had never tweeted about him at the time of my blocking. I think it was some Ohio State slander that got him, that he somehow
interesting. Right. Yeah. I'd block you for that too, as a proud alum.
Yeah, I think I had some mini Ohio State slander go viral, and he blocked me.
Well, that's good. It's good to get something out there viral, even if it gets you blocked by the former best receiver in the NFL. I'm not streaming Dalton. I kind of think he's still better than Jameis. What we saw from Jameis early in the year was he had to go back to the old Jameis. He was just throwing interceptions at a crazy rate, getting sacked at a hilarious rate, both of which were far worse than we've seen from Dalton. But it's I don't know. This team had the golden opportunity this offseason to reset for a year. They just needed a year to get their books in order. They chose not to. They forced it, and now they're paying for it.
They are really, really paying for it. Just hear me out then, Kyle. We're probably not streaming Andy Dalton and Lawrence, but are we starting Andy Dalton against the Steelers over Jared Goff against the Bears?
No.
That's easy for me. I'll go Goff all day on that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Even though the Lions are on the road and they get a little tricky on the road, the Bears defense, obviously they give up the 35 points to the Dolphins. The week before, they gave up 49 to the Cowboys. So it could be just another back and forth game as far as the Bears go. And the Lions and the Bears are that's both of their games right now. It's just going back and forth. Whoever has the ball last wins.
I'll do one more since that was easy for both of you. I think this one will probably be easier. Jacoby Brissett at the Dolphins in a potential shootout, or Andy Dalton against the Steelers.
Yeah, Brissett still.
Yeah. It's not many I'm starting. It's not many that I'll start Dalton ahead of. Like,
You guys, what I'm trying to tell you is you got to start
maybe
Andy
Sam
Dalton.
Ellinger or something.
What about Matthew Stafford against the Cardinals?
I thought about that one. That's so funny because you've named like quarterbacks we should realistically have no interest in, and we took them over Dalton. And you name one that you would like. Your brain says, "Oh, of course, it's Matthew Stafford." I think maybe that's the breaking point. Stafford has just been awful. Who's Stafford play?
They're playing the Cardinals. Been pretty feisty pass defense, to be honest.
It's a bet like the Rams and the Cardinals is like the extension of the mid bowl, which was played by the Rams and the Bucs. So when you get two mid teams that are becoming lower than mid, one of them got to do good, right?
I think I'm taking Dalton over Stafford.
I am too. That was an all-time mid bowl, by the way, Lawrence. The Bucs and Rams. I don't know why I'm keeping this conversation going. Final one. Russell Wilson against the Tennessee Titans or Andy Dalton against the Pittsburgh Steelers?
Now we're talking.
I think it's Andy. Russell Wilson is so bad. It hurts everything in my body.
He's coming off a bye. Yeah,
I had to go back and look at some numbers, but because it's wild, right? Because I don't want nothing to do with Andy Dalton, but I had no problem starting Chris Olave, Alvin Kamara, Taysom Hill. But I have a problem starting Andy Dalton, so something is weird right there. You know what I'm saying?
Well, it's because you've watched Andy Dalton play football for the better part of a decade, is what I would call that problem. So Andy Dalton, even in a really, really, really good spot with the Steelers, we're still mostly off of. Elsewhere in this game, the Ravens backfield, we got Kenyon Drake, 24 carries for 93 yards, 2 touchdowns against the Saints. We don't know what's going on with Gus Edwards. We do know that the Ravens are going on bye. How are we expecting this Ravens backfield to look after the bye?
I actually just saw an update that John Harbaugh.
This one's John.
One of them.
Not his brother Jim. John Harbaugh said that Gus Edwards should be back after the bye. So in that situation, you expected everybody to bump down. Kenyon Drake will be what Justice Hill was, probably a little more.
Well, do we think for sure? Do we think Gus will immediately go back ahead of Kenyon Drake, or has maybe Kenyon Drake actually earned a shot to lead the backfield over Gus?
What makes me think he'll go back is because the first game he was back, they just threw him right in there, started the game, played the first 2 or 3 series. Kenyon Drake ran well. He straight up bullied the Saints defense, especially down the stretch, wore him down. But I think it won't even matter who starts. It'll be close to a 50-50 split. But when you get down near the goal line, I'm going to feel like it's Gus Edwards.
Yeah, that's where I'm at too. The way we saw them immediately throw Gus Edwards into the fire once he was back. Probably shouldn't have done that, and probably shouldn't have even brought back J.K. Dobbins early as they did. That's the only concern, is that we've seen them time and time, and every single player on this team, time and time again, either comes back too early or just gets re-injured. Maybe there's no medical reason they shouldn't have come back, but they have been bitten by that so many times this year that maybe they view that as well, we can't have this keep happening to us. Let's not throw Gus Edwards back in. But within a week or two of Gus Edwards being back, I can't see him not being the lead back, at least a 60-40 split. Maybe the first week back, you're more hesitant to play him. But as a long-term plan, without J.K. Dobbins in the lineup, at least, you expect Gus Edwards, who's been a really efficient runner, doesn't do much in the passing game, he's been a really efficient runner throughout his career, incredibly efficient. So I think within a week of him being back, he'll be the lead guy again.
J.K. Dobbins could actually be back this year, but it seems like not before Thanksgiving.
Especially with how poorly
him this time.
Yeah, especially with how poorly it went the first time. You slow play him into the playoffs if you have to.
Well, Kyle, it's so weird. You were talking about the Ravens and their approach to health, where they really, really slow played it with J.K. Dobbins, and it still wasn't long enough. Then they did not slow play it with Gus Edwards, Rashad Bateman, or Mark Andrews, and all either got re-injured or suffered new injuries. And having a tough year with the health for the Ravens.
Good news. They're slow playing it with Deshaun Jackson in that hamstring. They don't get him ready after that bye.
Who could have ever seen a Deshaun Jackson hamstring injury coming is what I want to know. He is our age, Lawrence and I's age. That's a pretty big problem if you're trying to play.
That's why I kind of give him props, because seeing what he's doing out there, I'm like, oh no, my hamstring got pulled last night just watching.
Yes, so big same. We'll end with talking about this game. It was another kind of disappointing night in fantasy for Lamar Jackson. Just 133 yards passing, 1 total touchdown. He's the QB 15 by average points over the past 5 weeks. He somehow has not scored a rushing touchdown since week 3. He's still averaging 7.4 yards per carry. Hasn't rushed for fewer than 40 yards since week 1, quite frequently over that. Is there any concern here, or just kind of a box score blip?
I mean, I am concerned that they won't have Bateman, right? They will get Mark Andrews back, but Bateman was like top 10 in yards per route run. He plays such a crucial role in that even when he's not getting targets, he's clearing out so much space for Mark Andrews, who was playing, at least when he was healthy, playing a true wide receiver 1 level role and doing it at a high level too. It wasn't just a product of circumstances. He was earning every single target he got out there. And the combination of him plus Bateman was really working out well. Then Bateman gets banged up. Now Mark Andrews hurt. Maybe the last 2 box scores, which essentially, I know like technically Bateman and Andrews both started the second box score ago. They didn't play more than a quarter. It doesn't like count as them playing in my mind. Maybe the past 2 are probably low lights for Lamar, but I do think this offense is marginally worse. One receiver who's not getting a ton of targets can only make so much impact, but I do think it's marginally worse without Rashad Bateman in the lineup, because he was doing what he was asked to do really well.
Yeah, definitely tougher without Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews. He'll get him back shortly. It was definitely not, especially as a guy who got Lamar Jackson on a lot of his teams, you wanted to see a little bit more fantasy-wise. But the thing about this team and Lamar Jackson, he going to get stats as he needs to get them. The Ravens was, pretty much whooping the Saints last night.
They were.
And what was working was Kenyon Drake just pummeling them. Actually, on Kenyon Drake's 2 touchdowns, Lamar actually could have pulled that out and scored himself. But why do that? Give it to
that's true.
Give it to the running back. And despite that disappointing week, he was quarterback 10 on the week, which just goes to show you ain't a lot of good quarterbacking going on around here. Furthermore, after the bye week, it gets a little nice for the Ravens, the Panthers, the Jaguars, the Broncos, Steelers, Browns, Falcons.
Oh, yeah.
I might be trying to pull off some trades for Lamar Jackson before your fantasy deadline.
I wonder, though, if
coming up.
Because, Lawrence, I think you were pretty astutely pointed out that when you give up 13 to the Saints, the Jawan Johnson touchdown, I think, came in the second half. It was just not a close game. At no point did it feel competitive. Bucs, they gave up 22. Browns, they gave up 20. In a loss, they only gave up 24 to the Giants. They've won 4 of their past 5 and just are not giving up points. I wonder, and the teams they play coming up are Trevor Lawrence, Russell Wilson, Marcus Mariota still, I think, but who knows at that point? A lot of bad teams, you could see them just skating by with a lot of 24-17 wins, because
that's the flip side of it too.
Yeah. They're bad defenses, so that's nice. But I don't know if I see when's the next shootout they get, because you think about it was kind of a sloppy shootout, but the New England game, there's a lot of turnovers in that game. But that's the type of game you want for Lamar. If Lamar drops back 40 times, he's almost guaranteed to get 100 on the ground. He's just so efficient at running and good at choosing his spots to run, which probably go hand in hand. The Miami Dolphins game, what is 80 points scored in this game? Those games are the best. Not that he can't just beat up on a mediocre Jacksonville defense. Same with Pittsburgh, but I don't see a single shootout coming.
Well, if you guys want to flip side to the flip side, these are Lamar Jackson's past 6 rushing totals without a touchdown: 11 carries for 73, 12 for 58, 7 for 77, 10 for 59, 9 for 43, and 11 for 82. The dude is just dying to have a Joe Mixon 2 or 3 rushing touchdown game and regress to the rushing touchdown mean, because there's no way he's going to keep having that kind of rushing production and not getting rushing touchdowns.
But the thing is, he has to break a long one like we saw versus Miami, the 80-yard run, because if he gets to the goal line, it's going to be the running backs more often than not. That's just how they roll. They're not really like the Bills, where Josh Allen will sneak it in or run it short, because he is their big back down there. Josh Allen has said that. Lamar just, hey, let my running back take this hit. So it could get iffy. So this schedule coming up for the Ravens, as far as fantasy wise, it could be really, really good for him for fantasy or really bad, because we might be seeing Gus Edwards carry the ball 25 times when they're playing the Panthers.
He's got to start keeping some of these read options, though, Lawrence. He's going to keep some of them.
So.
He's going to keep some of them. He's going to score some. He will score. I guarantee I guarantee Lamar Jackson will score a rushing touchdown coming off bye in Week 11. You heard it here first. He will score a rushing touchdown in Week 11. We'll finally move on to running back. And Kyle, we'll begin with you. Who are you having trouble ranking in Week 10 at running back?
This is probably something you could say of all of the Bucs players, because they're still playing football in like a way that should score points. We're seeing Brady drop back crazy amount, like in a game they won. I mean, it was a close, ugly game. Like somehow the NFL awarded a win in this game versus the Rams. It really should have gone down as two teams losing football games. He drops back, or he passes 58 times, not just drop backs. And to me, that's kind of what you want from Leonard Fournette. You just want the team to pass the ball a ton, get into the red zone, and then throw or hand him off the ball at the one. The thing is, the passing hasn't actually been followed by scoring points. Obviously, it's been a dreadful stretch, despite having at least the receivers healthy at this point, or most the ones that matter are healthy at this point. But instead, they're not scoring points. And then on top of that, Rachaad White continues to eat into his role. Last week saw only one fewer carry, also picked up 3 targets. Fournette still saw 7 targets. But if you're not getting as much of the rushing work, and he's dreadfully inefficient when he is running the ball, you're not getting the red zone work because they're not getting in there as much as they used to. Like, his role still looks good from the fact that he gets targets and he plays the red zone role, but on this offense, it's just not the same as it was last year. So I think he's still a top 24 running back, but is he like in that 19, 20, 21 range? Whereas at his peak last year, he was like a top 5 running back. He was getting tons of targets and touchdowns. That's all I care about. I don't care if he gets 30 carries. Like, just do the things you do well. He's not doing those. So I don't know. Where do you have him ranked, Pax? I feel like he's, assuming we don't have a ton of teams on bye, we coming off a week with a lot of teams on bye, he's got to be somewhere close to 20 as opposed to like the start of the year. I probably would have put him at like 8.
We do have 4 teams on bye.
Are they good?
Still got him a little like higher than I would like. I have him around RB 15, 16 right now, because you get into the area where the competition's like David Montgomery, Jamal Williams, James Conner, maybe Cordero Patterson, Tony Pollard, depending on what happens with Zeke, Deontay Foreman. And you want to talk about touchdown regression? I feel like the entire Bucs off. I mean, at some point the Bucs are going to score 4 or 5 touchdowns in a game, right? I mean, they have to? Question mark.
I don't know. I gambled on that last week and we didn't get there.
Yeah, Leonard Fournette has been under 10 carries 3 straight games. He hasn't rushed for more than 65 yards since week 1. He won the touch battle against Rachaad White last week, 14-11, but he only outsnapped him 52-40. And with Fournette, I'm just kind of betting like this Bucs offense is going to have a 2 or 3, 4 touchdown game. I still expect him to always score one of those if that kind of game happens. But yeah, it's more still just, it's not like a positive Leonard Fournette ranking I really have. It's more just like I dislike the questions behind him even more.
I think you named some guys behind him I would take ahead of him. CPAT was one of them. James Conner was one of them.
I might have to get Fournette down. I haven't done my running backs deep dive yet. I might have to get him down more in like the 18 to 20 range. Any Fournette thoughts, Lawrence?
I got him at 15 too right now. And I'm hearing you talk, Pat, and I hear you say he out-touched Rachaad White. The fact that you even said that is just wild. You know, in the beginning of the season, it was cool that he wasn't running for those over 65 yards a game because he was getting that through the air, getting ridiculous volume in the passing game. I'm talking about having games of where he has receptions, 7 receptions, 11 receptions. That's not happening no more because it's becoming closer to a split. So now when we have to rank Leonard Fournette and Rachaad White, that gap has narrowed because it's like we could feel Rachaad White just kind of like how we feel about Khalil Herbert. Like he's inching closer to just being that dude. And if the Bucs offense isn't being successful, then what reason do you have to not put Rachaad White in there? So that's what makes it hard.
Yeah, I literally wrote that almost exact phrase in my Sunday Aftermath column. The gap is closing. And thankfully for Leonard Fournette, Rachaad White is like not jumping through it yet. He's not coming through the door. Leonard has left ajar, but he is leaving the door open. And he seems to really, really want Rachaad White to come through it. And, they're playing the Seattle Seahawks. They're playing them in Germany. Like something weird is going to happen in this game. So I think this might be a really telling game for how the Bucs offense is going to look down the stretch. And a total coaching staff commitment to Rachaad White is in the cards, which is another reason that maybe we should kind of get him down in the ranks. But
yeah, producer Adam says that the Athletic's Greg Allman, really good reporter for the Bucs, by the way, says the momentum will likely be with Rachaad White at the end of the season. And like, as you said, Pat, like, yes, he hasn't done the thing where like Tony Pollard every single touch, you're like, how do we not get Zeke in there, or how do we not get Zeke out of there? But it's becoming clear that at least the answer is not Fournette. Rachaad White, like you said, hasn't made it clear that he has to be on the field. Fournette has almost made it clear he has to be off the field. So I do think we could be looking at like, oh, well, Fournette gets his 2-score game in a week or two, but then as the fantasy playoffs come around, you start him the first week and get bounced because that's the week Rachaad White flips the cards, right? Becomes the 15-touch guy.
My Galaxy Brain boomer comment is that I definitely think it's coming, but I also think they probably won't do it this week since they're literally having to go to Germany. Might not be a good week to like take a totally different offensive approach. But I mean, I don't know. I guess it's a long flight. They're gonna have a lot of time to think on that flight, Todd Bowles. And maybe when he lands, he's like, yep, it's Rachaad White time here in Munich, Germany. But we'll see. The clock is ticking, Lenny. You got to do something. Lawrence, who are you having trouble ranking this week at running back?
Jeff Wilson, man. And you could kind of put the two Miami running backs together, Raheem Mostert and Jeff Wilson. And this is something, honestly, that I saw it coming. Raheem Mostert was never about to be some bell cow running back. Good move from a football standpoint to pick up Jeff Wilson to give him more of a in between the tackles runner. But Jeff Wilson, the first game, he hit the ground running. Why? Because he already knew the coach, he knew the offense, he knew the scheme, and he fits it well. That show already 12 touches, 72 total yards, and a receiving touchdown. Actually out-touched Raheem Mostert 12-9, although in targets, Wilson had 3, Mostert had 2, but Mostert wasn't able to bring any of his in. So that tells me what it should tell us is that this is pretty much a solid little committee. And quite frankly, it could play out in a way that we could view both of these players as like kind of flex plays for each week. Raheem Mostert had his, few weeks of being an RB2. Now you got Wilson there. But my main thing is I don't know which one to rank ahead because either one could score the touchdown. Either one could, because they'll play the same role, even though they different types of players. So right now, I have Raheem Mostert at 27 and Jeff Wilson at 29. They're probably better than that, but they're that low because they'll cancel each other out.
One of them will be better than that, and one of them will be far worse.
Yeah, something like that.
I have no clue
right.
We split the snaps almost exactly 50-50 last week. It was hilarious. It was the first time the backup running back had seen more than like 7 carries since week 1. And it was instantly. They did the thing that Pat said. It's like, he's just a running back. Just get him in there and let him play football.
See?
In this case, he literally was just joining the same coaching staff in a different location, the same running scheme in a different location.
Yeah.
So it's a lot easier than McCaffrey joining the 49ers. I mean, I have to imagine it's like the easiest thing far as
Kyle Denny on Monday's podcast. We read a quote from Jeff Wilson where he really laid it on thick about how it was the exact same system.
Like, okay, cool. I didn't want to make his job sound easy, but as far as transitions go, Spider-Man meme pointing, Spider-Man meme pointing.jpg. I think it was it almost surprised me how easy it was for him, but you talked about it. Yeah, man, this is going to be a difficult backfield to rank because it's just like we hope that one of these guys on probably a dozen touches gets there in an efficient manner, and they should because the offense is humming. It's a good running scheme, and they're both good running backs. But one of them's going to break a long touchdown, and one of them's going to turn 12 touches into 50 yards with one catch, and that's like the worst possible day. And the other one's going to have a good day.
Yeah, you guys both made really good points. Lawrence kind of going down this road with Raheem Mostert. Like he basically needed to be in a committee where
Yeah.
I'm sure it was never the plan to make him like a 15 to 20 touch player. And kind of like Cordero Patterson last year, you could almost see him wearing down in real time under those heavier workloads, or his efficiency was decreasing. He just clearly needed a backfield mate. And so it made all the sense in the world from that perspective, and also why it should not change going forward. And yeah, I have Mostert ranked higher right now, but I have them both ranked as like mid-range RB3s. I don't think I'll get either of them will be in the top 30 for me. And it's just real hard, especially with only one game of data to kind of know like who we should be like leaning toward. I mean, maybe you lean toward Raheem Mostert just because he's been there all year. He has had some big games. He does have like the bigger playability in theory still. So I'll probably keep Mostert ahead of Jeff Wilson for this week, but definitely a situation where I feel like we needed to be in data collection mode. Situation where we are in data collection mode and not liking the data is DeAndre Swift, who outtouched Justin Jackson only 5-4 on Sunday, played, I think, like 10 to 12 snaps.
10 on the dot, I think.
They did say, Dan Campbell did come out and say, so Dan Campbell, who basically came out and said last week, we're going to snap count DeAndre Swift, came out and said this week that he needs a bigger role. And I did think he looked healthier in week 9 than he did in week 8. But we know Jamal Williams is going to probably double him up in touches at least still. We have no idea what the usage will actually be. We have no idea if he'll get hurt again. And we have no idea where to rank DeAndre Swift. I'm assuming neither of you have him in the top 24, correct?
No, not even close.
Good.
And the dude just gotta get healthy, I guess, man. And even when he is, there's still Jamal Williams there. So it's tough. The main reason it's tough to rank DeAndre Swift because we know imagine him getting 20 touches in a game.
Well, yeah, Lawrence on 5 touches, he got 50 yards on 5 touches.
Yeah, so dude probably scored 3 touchdowns with 20 carries or something. But that's really what it is. We have to have him get healthy. Like I got a team right now. The past 2 weeks, I keep starting both of them and just hoping that one of them gonna score, but knowing it's going to be Jamal Williams who scored, and that's pretty much why he started in that spot, man. So it's tough, man, and I know for a lot of fantasy managers out there, it's frustrating because you took this dude on the second round wrap. In some cases,
some people took him in the first round. Yeah,
exactly. Some cases in the first, so like you tight right now, like you ain't happy, but it is what it is.
I've got him as the RB30 right now. I feel like you can't really get him. You still have to start. I think if you have DeAndre Swift, you have to still start him no matter what.
Do you?
I really think you do. I mean, he looked a lot healthier to me, I'll say, in week 9. And apparently to Dan Campbell, who's finally saying we got to get him more involved. There's such crazy upside for DeAndre Swift. But yeah, Jamal.
I mean, if you have him as the RB30, like, plenty of people have him and 2 other running backs ranked 29 through 1.
Yeah, it's true. That's a good point. By the way, you guys want to hear a really pointless stat?
Oh, I love it. Yes.
Pointless. Jamal Williams has yet to have a 1 touchdown game. He has 8 touchdowns. He's had 4 2-touchdown games and has yet to have a
one touchdown. I like this.
I know. So not a normal
all
season.
Or nothing.
Yeah, not a normal season for Jamal, who had faced one of the worst run defenses in the NFL in the Packers and had 24 scoreless carries for 81 yards. Even though he got a carry from the 1 yard line, I believe, after DeAndre Swift set them up at the 1. Not tilted at all.
Oh, that play where DeAndre Swift caught the ball, went to the 1 was brutal because you knew he wasn't getting it after that.
No,
you knew he wasn't getting it after that.
You knew that the first thing I don't think he had to look up. He just started running off the field.
Yeah. He didn't have to wait for the coach to be like, all right, new package.
Yeah, he did not look for the sub sign yet. He just ran to the side.
He sees the thick white line of the goal line. He's like, I know what that is, and walks off the field.
He knows he's not allowed. It's the forbidden fruit. He's not allowed to touch it. So we'll be right back after this. Just a reminder, if you don't have the NBC Sports Predictor app, go download it now. The contests are free and easy to play, and you have a shot to win thousands this weekend by predicting what will happen in college football, on the PGA Tour, and in the Premier League. There's also $100,000 up for grabs by guessing the outcome between the Chargers and 49ers and our Sunday Night 7 contest. And don't forget, download the Rotoworld app to receive breaking player news all season long. Stay ahead of the competition by favoriting players on your roster. Get the latest injury updates, player news, and much more delivered right to your phone. It's available in your app store today. All three of us are heavy contributors to the Rotoworld app with our blurbs. Check it out. Really, really good app. Really, really good position used to be wide receiver, guys. But it's not nearly as deep this year. Lawrence, who are you having trouble ranking a wide receiver this week? You are muted, Lawrence Jackson.
Michael Pittman.
Oh, hold on. Let me start that over. I'll do 3, 2, 1. Sorry if you're watching on Twitch. Except for you're not. No one's watching on Twitch because Denny's on Twitch. I'm going to count us back in. 3, 2, 1. Lawrence, who are you having trouble ranking at receiver this week?
Michael Pittman, because Sam Ehlinger is the starting quarterback for the Indianapolis Colts. Jeff Saturday, the coach who got as much NFL coaching experience as I do, he actually came out and said that Sam Ehlinger is still going to be the quarterback, and that's affecting Michael Pittman, a guy who we expected to have a breakout season. Even before that, he's only got one 100-yard game this season. It just hasn't been going well. He's got 76 receiving yards in the 2 games in which Sam Ehlinger started. So I don't know who they play here in week 10, but it doesn't
matter who they're playing. They have Jeff Saturday as their
it don't
coach.
matter who they playing because somebody had to throw him the ball. And me and Kyle was talking about this yesterday. Even Paris Campbell was starting to kick up his production right before they gave my guy Matt Ryan the old boot. But, I got nothing against trying to get a young quarterback going. You can't count these young dudes out too early. But from a fantasy perspective, if he is starting, I am worried about Michael Pittman. But then it's like, oh, he's still the number 1 receiver on that team. So you can't just be totally disrespectful when it comes to the ranking at the same time.
Lawrence, I'm going to fact check you. You said he had 76 yards over his past 2 games. It's 75.
See, I was giving him more credit. I was giving him more credit.
We call that the Lawrence bump. You get 1 more yard if we like you. Only one.
Trying to hype him up while hyping him down.
Been so bleak. 10 catches for 75 yards. And yeah, they're playing the Raiders, by the way. A team Jeff Saturday tweeted on October 30th are, quote, horrible.
He better win this game.
I know.
You better win.
They're probably not going to win this game.
He's going to lose to the team he said was horrible. Adam points out the Raiders are 6-point favorites. Lawrence laid it out really well on Michael Pittman. Kyle, do we have anything to add to the sad scene there?
No, he pointed out well that he's very clearly still the wide receiver 1 of this team. Past 2 games, 29% target share, 28% air yard share, a third of the team's 3 red zone targets. So, we chase the players that get a lot of volume, but Lawrence points out, you really do have to dock the volume when it originates at the hands of Sam Ehlinger. So I'll probably still have him ranked as a top 15, 16 type of guy.
Not sure about that.
27.
Yeah,
27.
I've got a wide receiver 33 right now, to be honest.
Oh,
that's really low. That's when I do the deep dive. This was just from my initial scan on Tuesday morning, but here's who I have just ahead of him. I've got Rondale Moore, which I might need to change that.
This is disrespectful.
Hold on.
Respect.
Hold on. Rondale Moore, Brandon Cooks, which George Pickens, Devontae Smith.
What is this?
Jerry have you seen him?
What Pat is doing is ranking him according to his production with Sam Ehlinger at quarterback, because in those 2 starts, he's been wide receiver 37. I'm giving him 27, so I done hooked him up with an extra yard in the past 2 games, and I'm also ranking him wide receiver 27 at the same time.
How you rank George Pickens ahead of him? How many yards do you think George Pickens had the last time we saw him play?
He had 0. That's beside the point, though.
I can't look. I have George Pickens at that's actually Deontay Johnson. I have at 28. George Pickens, I do have him a little lower.
Pickens, this is kind of a vibes-based ranking, Kyle, where
hey, look, my Twitter bio says vibes-based content.
Well, ESPN's Jeremy Fowler who's very plugged into the Steelers, used to be a Steelers beat reporter.
Oh, did he really? I didn't know.
He reported that after the bye, aka this week, they're planning to get George Pickens more involved. They're basically changing the direction of the offense. More George Pickens, more Jalen Warren. I agree. Wide receiver 33 could be kind of drastic for Michael Pittman. When I sit down and go through it player by player, I might end up getting him more in like the 24 to 28 range, but it's just so hard to see the upside of Sam. Like who's going to spark this guy? They just fired the offensive coordinator. They just fired the coach. Like they have a guy literally coming in from ESPN who's like just frantic, like going to have like the craziest coaching week of all time probably. Is he really going to have much time to be devising a game plan to get the ball to Michael Pittman more?
Like Madden plays.
Yeah, seriously. NFL blitz plays. Zoomers will never
Maybe
remember.
he get like listen, it's nothing that one long bomb touchdown won't fix.
It's true.
We get that. Anybody capable of that, so if he get one of those and he now gets 75 yards on one catch, it's all good. If it's a touchdown,
Yeah, now we're call NFL blitz play da bomb to Michael Pittman.
Is this a real reference? Have you made a real reference?
The real heads will remember. They called it da bomb probably every third or fourth play on blitz. So Kyle, who are you having trouble ranking this week?
Amon-Ra St. Brown. I still feel confident. The vibes aren't great, but the math would say that you should probably still rank him as like a top 12 option. As John Daigle, not sure who this up and coming writer John Daigle is, points out on Twitter, in his 4 full games this year, 12 targets, 10 targets, 12 targets, 9 targets, target shares north of 32% in 3 of 4 games. He looks like an elite alpha as always. It's just been a hot minute since we've had a real ceiling game from him. No touchdowns since week 2, peaked at 73 yards in week 3. I mean, I don't know if we've had more than, I think, eyeballing at 15 full PPR points from him since week 2. But the volume's been there, and the offense has been fine, too. It's not like this Jared Goff thing is
I would maybe say the offense has not been fine.
27 points 2 weeks ago, and I think the offense, they didn't put up many points last week, but it's because they played a team that totaled 9 points. They just ran the ball. Like, to me, that was a product of the situation when they had Jared Goff attempt 26 passes and they ran the ball over 30 times, I believe. Yeah, they ran the ball almost exactly 30, taking out a Goff kneel down. I think in a game where the Packers pushed them a little bit, they at least have an okay game. Goff also threw 2 scores on 26 attempts. Amon-Ra didn't catch any of them, which didn't feel great, but I think the offense isn't completely coming apart. They're probably not as good as they were in the first 3 weeks, but they're probably not a 15-point offense like they were last week. They put up 20-some-odd points the week before that. So the offense is fine. It's not holding him back. It's not the issue with the Amon-Ra. And the volume isn't the issue. So I think just randomness is probably the issue.
Yeah, I agree. The offense is not holding back Amon-Ra, and he totally dominated target share, totally dominated the air yards against the Packers. And I don't think it's a great offense, but I do think it's like kind of like an opponent-dependent offense where they got dragged down the mud by the Packers. Then 27 points against the Dolphins, 45 points against the Seahawks a month ago, and shut out by the Patriots, 6 points against the Cowboys. Like, not the kind of offense that's going to go off against good defenses. But the Bears are kind of turning into like a shootout machine type of defense. It could be a good overall week for the Lions offense. And the usage has remained really, really good with Amon-Ra.
You pointed out dominated air yards. I've checked like 3 different sites because this does not seem like it can be right. 84% of the air yards last week. I keep checking that, looking for different sources. Maybe, everyone's pulling their data from a bad source, but I think it's because they just dumped it off every single play other than Amon-Ra. Anytime they were throwing to someone else, it was just a complete give up, whereas Amon-Ra is a guy who can move the chains. So his 81 air yards somehow is worth 84%.
They threw to 3 different tight ends. Brock Wright, James Mitchell, and a fake Zylstra. Not even the real Zylstra.
The sequel.
It was his brother.
Yeah, still in touchdowns, that guy.
I know, man. Yeah, how can we're getting the bootleg Zylstra scoring a touchdown, but not DeAndre Swift? Just no justice whatsoever in this world. Any thoughts on Amon-Ra, Lawrence, or do I need to go into who I don't know how to rank?
Yeah, same deal. I kind of feel the same way. After the first 2 weeks, I was ready to have him in my top 10 every week. Got hurt, things changed. We knew the Lions weren't going to be that consistent with the offense. So, but we still know he getting the usage and the targets.
Speaking of the usage and the targets, we got Josh Palmer on the Los Angeles Chargers, and it's kind of unclear if Josh Palmer is actually good, but it's abundantly clear that he has 17 catches for 163 yards on 22 targets over his past 2 games. And Mike Williams is still out. Keenan Allen is in the Michael Thomas purgatory zone. We just have no idea what's going on with his health. We know that Justin Herbert is nowhere else to basically funnel these looks. Where do you think I have Josh Palmer ranked, you guys, right now, off the top of your heads?
I'm assuming you don't have Keenan Allen or Mike Williams in.
No, I don't.
Obviously not Mike, but
Mike
also
Williams
does not feel like Keenan Allen either.
Yeah, I do not have Keenan ranked yet. I mean, it's early in the week. Keenan could start practicing. I currently do not have Keenan Allen ranked.
Yeah. It's safe to rank him as out for now, at least, if not another week. 22, 23.
22.
Oh, yes. I was going to say, I felt like the way you had that intro set up that you was going to have him at 15 or something.
Wide receiver 8.
Yeah.
Now, I have his wide receiver 22. Does that strike you guys as fair, having Josh Palmer in the top 24 right now?
Yeah.
I got him at 20.
Okay, wow. I've got him behind Alan Lazard and Christian Kirk. Do I need to change that?
I think you could argue him over Kirk. Lazard is fine. Lazard's been a solid receiver in terms of efficiency and a good receiver in terms of volume. So I think Lazard is safe to put ahead of him. You could swing me on taking Palmer over Kirk, though.
Sounds like we're not having problems ranking Joshua Palmer then.
No, you got him. I think you did a good job. Good job.
The problem lies within, does Keenan Allen come back this week? We know Mike Williams is not. So it is pretty much that. They'll have a tougher defense this week than which they faced last week in the Falcons. So that'll be interesting too, especially for Herbert.
I think even if he comes back, Keenan Allen, will Josh Palmer still be in the top 30? Probably not.
Yeah, he should. I would say so. Yeah. Because you rank Mike Williams and Keenan Allen both in there too. So
Keenan, if he comes back, I bet I'll have him wide receiver 40 or something.
Yeah, dude, you cannot be playing Keenan Allen in his first game back. He's getting 6 snaps.
I have to.
I thought you were going to say 6 naps, Kyle, and that made even more sense than snaps. Yeah, he's old now. He's got to take naps on the sideline. Speaking of the guy delivering the ball, Justin Herbert, he's just the QB9 by average points on the season. He has 7 touchdowns in 6 games since he injured his ribs in week 2, 6.4 yards per attempt, under 6 yards per attempt in 3 straight games. I mean, we're keeping him in the QB1 ranks, I'm assuming, but man, we need some production or something, don't we? I mean, Kyle, you look like you're racist. Is he still in your top 10, Justin Herbert?
Probably not. You said we have a few teams on bye. I already know a lot of the good quarterbacks have gotten past their bye. I think you said Lamar is on bye this week, but
Lamar
a lot of
the
other
other
ones are still out there. I mean, it's easy to sort of think of him as fancy Tom Brady I think fancy Tom Brady is a good one because they're still passing the ball a ton. He doesn't look terrible. But for him, to me, the biggest problem is that he has no option to move the chains. As you pointed out, less than 6 yards per attempt in back-to-back product. And largely it's just a product of having no one who can make big plays on this team. And they're not getting them back this week. And when they get Keenan Allen back, I'm not sure they're getting that player back in the end anyways. So where are my big plays coming from? He needs 50 attempts to get to 300 yards.
Speaking of 300 yards, he's done that once in the past 6 games. Justin Herbert is gun shy right now. I watched him extensively. He is not throwing. This is why, in the preseason, a lot of people talked about Tua's arm strength. That should be the least of your worries at the quarterback position, because what good is it if you ain't even going to use it? Justin Herbert's thrown 3 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions in the past 3 games. Over the past 5 weeks, he's quarterback 20. That's 5 weeks of football. You know who's number 1 at quarterback in the past 5 weeks?
Please say who I think it is.
Oh,
who do you think it is?
Yeah, tell us, Lawrence.
Justin Fields.
I was praying it was Justin Fields. I knew it had to be Justin Fields.
It's and like Kyle said, the thing about it is he's throwing the ball a ton. past 2 games, 43 attempts, 51 attempts, 57 attempts. They're gonna throw the ball. That's what they do. But a lot of it's like dink and dunk. Austin Eckler, like Kyle said, the weapons aren't there. I got him at quarterback 10 right now, just because it's Herbert. Like I don't got the guts.
Just for the vibes.
Just for the vibes.
Yeah.
Pat, who do you have ranked around him?
Well, okay, I was going to do my classic game with you guys.
Yeah, do it.
Justin Herbert at the San Francisco 49ers or Dak Prescott at the Green Bay Packers?
Herbert.
Exactly.
I'm going Dak.
See, it's a debate, but see, you're about to see why I still have Herbert in the top 10. Justin Herbert at the 49ers or Geno Smith in Germany.
Geno.
Really?
Yep.
That's too easy for me.
I mean, hold on. Geno, he's cleared, I think, 212 yards one time in his past 5 games, and they required this 50-yard Noah Fant catch for the Arizona Cardinals to decide.
Throwing more touchdowns than this
guy.
He is throwing more. Geno will get you 2 touchdowns every week. He will not get you 1. He will not get you 3.
And that's all we ask. That's all we ask.
It's all we're asking.
Like Justin Herbert giving us 1.
Yeah, man. He's given us 2 touchdowns in all but 2 games. He does have 1-3, but you're right. It's almost all 2. Yeah, that's more than we're getting from Herbert. So,
Justin Herbert or Tom Brady in Germany against the Seahawks.
I think it's I agree with you. At some point, we have to get a Brady 3-score game. He's throwing the ball too much to not do it. But you can say the same with Herbert. It's the exact same thing. That's why I said he's a good comp for it. I'm going to go Brady. I don't see how Herbert fixes his fantasy struggles while Josh Palmer and Austin Eckler are his top targets. I do think in the long run, throwing 50 times a game, half of which go to Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, that has to be a better setup. Even if you could say his line is worse and he is probably physically a lesser quarterback than Herbert is, it's just such a capped ceiling when Josh Palmer and Michael Bandy and DeAndre Carter are
Xander Horvath.
Yeah. So I think I go Brady, but they're so similar. The arguments for them are so similar.
Final one, Justin Herbert this week against the San Francisco 49ers in Santa Clara, or Kirk Cousins in Buffalo against the forbidding Bills.
Ooh, that's an interesting one. I think
Kirk, I got Cousins.
Yeah, I think it's Kirk. Obviously, it's a horrific matchup from a defensive perspective. And I guess it also depends if Josh Allen plays.
Say if Josh Allen doesn't play, it actually probably won't be a question. We'll probably have to have Herbert ahead.
I'll take Cousins with Josh Allen.
Well, yeah. With Josh Allen is kind of good for his offense.
Yeah, you want the game to at least look high paced because the Bills will just hold you to 10 and also only score 15 if Case Keenum is under center.
Kyle, what would the total be for this game if Case Keenum is the starter? 42 and a half?
At 48 17. Right now, and I think it's going to drop 4. I think it already dropped a point or 2, but and producer Adam says weather is supposedly bad this week. Rain, cold, could be snow. It that could put it to low 40s, 41, 42 if it's confirmed Case Keenum. As Adam said, opened at 48.5, dropped to 46, like I said. And that's just with speculation that Allen might not play. We have no confirmation that's what it is. And this weather concern, I do think we'd see it hover at 41, 42.
I just put Justin Herbert back at quarterback 9 because of that report from Adam. I'm not messing with no Kirk Cousins in no weather. I'm not messing with Kirk Cousins in the weather. No, sir. I could trust them coming back against the Lions and the Commanders. No weather versus the Bills. Nah.
Man, snow on November 13th, man. I don't know what the world's coming to. Man, I know it's Buffalo, but come on. We're going to stick quarterback real quick. Trevor Lawrence, who every week I want to rank QB 22, and then I actually sit down and go through the numbers and have to keep ranking much, much higher than that in the QB2 rankings. He has not been a high-end QB2 based on his real life play, but he kind of keeps getting home with 40 yards rushing, a rushing score every other week. He has not had multiple passing scores in a game since week 4, but so is Trevor Lawrence to you guys still in the QB 14, 15, 16 range?
Yeah, for me, yeah, because he has to be there right now, especially with the buys. For the season, he's quarterback 9. That's overall, not points per game. Let me just put that out there. The past 3 weeks, he's been right outside the quarterback 1 range. So that's pretty much where I'll have him ranked this week. Nothing too crazy, but like you said, Pat, what's keeping them afloat is, scrounging out them rushing yards, getting a rushing touchdown here or there, and it all counts for fantasy. He actually started off against the Raiders pretty bad, but
Real
he
bad.
turned it right. He turned it out to a solid day with the rushing effort.
Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, it almost seemed like kind of like a circling the wagons moment. Where it's like, all right, I cannot be this bad. Like, I got to be better than this. And because like you could almost feel the narrative fully turning against him in real time as he came out horrible against the Raiders and then like calmed down by the end of the game. I'm like, all right, we're not calling Trevor Lawrence a bust just yet. He played just well enough. We're going to end the show talking about tight end. I don't know why. And the guy told you guys I want to talk. I don't know why. Why are we talking about K. Dotton? We're talking about K. Dotton. Unless you guys, do you have any other tight ends you want to talk about?
No one wants to talk about tight ends at this point in the season.
I don't talk about tight ends no more, especially when my favorite one gets 200. Like, I don't like this air yard stuff, but I only pay attention to it when it has to do with my guys. And since Kyle Pitts had 200 yards of them, I want to talk about tight ends.
Lawrence, did you see the overthrow?
100%.
So I don't know if you saw multiple angles of it. I need on the deep one. I need a film take of, was that entirely Marcus Mariota's fault? Because I think on the broadcast, this makes sense to some degree. He probably could have adjusted to it. The hang time on that ball is long, but ideally,
I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah,
but there was two other ones.
Yeah, the 50 air yarder that would have been a 70-yard touchdown. He probably could have adjusted to it, but also I thought the job of the quarterback was to put it like where he's going to be and let him catch it and run with it, as opposed to like solve this problem in the next 2 seconds.
Yeah. You're not supposed to pass a geometry test.
Yeah, exactly. It's be like
a
trig to figure out where it's coming down at. Like maybe just hit him in stride if you could, please.
K. Dotton doesn't have to pass any geometry test because his quarterback is Tom Brady.
Yeah, his quarterback just old school algebra, just rifle it in there, get him a touchdown. And is K. Dotton, is he in the tight end one mix? Like here's the companies keeping like Taysom Hill, Evan Ingram, Kyle Pitts, Greg Dulcich, Dawson Knox, Bob Tunyon, maybe Foster Moreau. I don't know.
I kind of think he is. I mean,
tight end one mix.
Yeah, over 80% snap share in 4 of his past 5 games. He's got 6 targets in his past 3 games. Scored last week, obviously. They should pass a lot. So, I mean, they have been passing a lot. They've been passing a ton. So he doesn't even have to. He doesn't have to be a product of the offense getting better because tight end is so bad. Even if he doesn't score, like 6 for 60 is probably enough to make him a tight end one. I think Isaiah Likely was a tight end one and caught 1 pass, so it was a touchdown, obviously. But
wow.
So K. Dotton going 5 for 50, 6 for 60, something like that, and the touchdown is a cherry on top. Like, will easily make him a tight end one. I'll have him ranked there.
Yeah. Right now, I just have him the tight end 14. Doing the deep dive later this afternoon, I wouldn't be surprised if suddenly I had him like tight end 11, tight end 12. Man, it is really bunched together. Is Taysom Hill still a tight end 1, by the way?
I don't think so. I think it was kind of a fool's errand to rank. I mean, we had some bad weeks at tight end. They're all bad weeks, but we did have some worse ones.
We say this, and then he'll get 2 touchdowns in week 10.
I know.
And then we'll go through this. Then we'll rank them top 6 next week.
So are your rankings median or mean projections? Because if they're the mean over an 18-game sample, he's going to have 3 games that makes him a tight end 1. If they are the median, he's a tight end like 24.
I was going to say he's tight end 22 if we're going median.
Yeah, exactly.
But
all right, well, mine's is the opposite. I got him at 11 right now.
I have him as tight end 10 right now. I've been keeping him in the top 6 for a while. This is the first week I'm kind of adjusting down. You know, I have back in the top 5 this week is David Njoku, who says he's playing, and we're hoping for a shootout in the Miami Dolphins. So
I love Njoku. I fully support you ranking him.
Lawrence, you hate Njoku, right?
Oh yeah, so much.
Lawrence, the biggest Njoku.
Hey, listen, those first 2 weeks I was doing the Homer Simpson backpedaling to the bushes, but after that, it's been all good ever since, man. So hopefully he does come back. In fact, even though I did like him preseason, I might have actually underrated him, saying he was going to be top 8. he's become better than that when he's playing. So we'll see how that go.
I know I've got him as the tight end 5 on my initial view. That might be too high once I sit down and kind of go through more stringently through the data, but got him as the tight end 5 right now. So I got us as done with this show. It's over.
I got that too, actually. We ranked us as done with the show the same.
We are ranked as done with the show. Kyle's ranked as having his 32 facts out. Lawrence has stock up, stock down. He's going to have his flex finder. My early rankings are already on the site. Your guys' rankings will be on the site Thursday. Anything else, Lawrence?
No, that covers it, my man.
Kyle?
Tune in to the Thursday live stream, me and Lawrence previewing whatever dreadful game they've decided to throw at us this time.
We got Falcons Panthers Thursday, baby. Yeah.
Oh,
this is like
God.
First
another big
Thursday.
day for Deontay Foreman coming up.
The last time we saw these two teams, it was good. I'm sure we'll never get blessed with that type of game on Thursday, but
No. This is a first ballot Thursday Hall of Fame matchup. Like, it is insane.
oh my God.
Jeff Bezos is just wanting to go live in space permanently. This is what he has on Amazon Prime Thursday night. But we are not wanting to do that. We're wanting to stay here at Rotoworld and keep making amazing content for you. For Lawrence, for Kyle, I'm Pat. We'll be back later this week.
Hey, it's Matthew Berry from NBC Sports and Rotoworld.com. Just want to thank you so much for watching what you just watched, or at least being too lazy to click out of it after the autoplay just kept it going. So either way, thank you so much for just letting it scroll by your screen. And now I'd like to ask you respectfully, okay? Respectfully, please subscribe to the NFL on NBC YouTube channel for the latest NFL news, fantasy headlines from Rotoworld, and betting analysis from NBC Sports Edge.